Hey everyone, in today's video, I'm going to share a phonological awareness skills scope and sequence. So we will be touching upon phonological awareness activities, what age they are usually mastered by, and I'm going to give some examples of each type of activity for you to use with your students. Now, if you're wondering the research behind this scope and sequence, this is actually from the LETRS training, so Carol Tolman and Louisa Moats, and they created this scope and sequence in line with Lucy Hart-Paulson's research done in 2004, where she figured out what age about 90% of students will master each of these skills. So that is the research behind this scope and sequence. So if you are ready to hear these activities in order, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. Okay, so going through the scope and sequence, we will start in order by age range, because that's going to be, the sequence that these skills will follow along. And it's always nice to have a good scope and sequence, because that way you can be prescriptive in your teaching. And if you're finding that students are having difficulty in one area, you can figure out where to go back from there, right? You can go back until they've mastered a skill and then kind of see what comes next. So kicking it off with age 4, so our preschool and pre-K students, they're going to do some simple word play. Now here they are just really listening to rhyming and alliteration, and they often do this through the use of different books, rhyming passages, rhyming phrases, and also books and phrases that include alliteration. So this is going to be mostly teacher-led, and they will just simply point out that these words rhyme and what alliteration is. They don't need to be producing rhymes or even identifying if something rhymes or not yet, they're just getting used to it. All right, by the age of 5, students are doing a few different things. First is rhyme recognition. So students should be able to listen to 2 words and give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, do these rhyme? They should be able to listen to 3 words at a time and determine which one does not rhyme. They might hear these 3 words, hall, ball, bat. Which one does not rhyme? Or you could ask them which 2 do rhyme, hall and ball. And bat is kind of that odd one out. So they're able to discriminate between 3 different words and hear which 2 rhyme and which one doesn't. At this age, they should also be able to produce rhymes. So you can give them a word like cat and ask what other words rhyme with cat. Mat, bat, sat. They should be able to produce at least 1 word that rhymes. Also at age 5, students should be able to count syllables in a word. So they can either clap them, they can do the mouth drop, however they want to count them is up to you, but they should be able to listen to words, flag, flag, 1 syllable, table, 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 2 syllables. And they should be able to start recognizing how many syllables are in each spoken word. They should also start matching beginning sounds. So if they hear 2 words, they should be able to determine if they start with the same sound or if they do not. For instance, bank, ball. Do those 2 words start with the same sound? Listen again. Bank, ball. They could say yes, they can say no. Moving on to age 5.5, students should be able to remember separate sounds they hear in a sequence. So truthfully, this is a skill that I don't think I've ever actually taught, although I have read about it, especially the past couple years. And it's one that if I were in a kindergarten or working with some early 1st grade students that I would definitely try. But essentially, students would need to listen to a series of phonemes and use colored blocks to recognize each phoneme. So I might tell my students, I'm going to say a bunch of sounds. Can you put a block for each sound you hear? And I might say t, t, sh. So there's a series of about 4 sounds, and they would simply have to remember and segment those single phonemes that they hear. So t, move a block, t, move a block, move a block, sh, move a block. It's really that beginning of having them actually isolate and hear individual sounds. At age 5.5, students should also be able to blend, onset, and rhyme. And remember, this is all spoken aloud to them. So you should be able to say to students, what is this word? Sh, ut, shut, qu, een, queen, t, app, tap. So this is before students are actually blending together single phonemes. Instead, they are starting with that onset and that rhyme and putting those together to make a word. And by 5.5, students should be able to segment and isolate that initial phoneme that they hear in a word. So you might tell your students, I'm going to say a word, tell me the first sound you hear. Top, t, shell, sh, book, b. And just to reiterate, they are only isolating and segmenting that first sound. All right, moving on to age 6, students should be able to delete syllables they hear in a spoken word. Now, syllable deletion is another phonological awareness activity that I don't think I taught too often. So here students would have to say a word. So I would say the word return. They'd say return. And then I would say the word again, but don't say re-turn. So this is that beginning sound manipulation, and they're starting it with syllables. And going right along with that, another skill students should be able to do at this point is compound word deletion. So just like syllable deletion, here they're going to hear a compound word, and they need to be able to repeat the word while deleting part of that word. So I would say the word notebook, notebook. Now repeat the word, but don't say note, book. Now say the word playground, playground. Now say the word, but don't say ground, play. So again, it's that beginning manipulation that they're doing, but they're doing it here with both syllables and compound words. This is also the age where students should be able to blend 2 to 3 phonemes together to make a word. So you might tell your students, I'm going to say some sounds. I want you to blend them together to make a word. I, my, k, at, cat. So here students have moved from onset and rhyme blending to now phoneme blending. They're hearing 2 to 3 different sounds and they have to blend them together to make a word. Not only are they blending 2 to 3 sounds, they are also at this age going to be segmenting 2 to 3 sounds that they hear in a word. This is a good time to get those manipulatives out and ask students to move a chip or move a cube or squish some Play-Doh for each sound they hear in the word. Again, these are 2 to 3 phoneme words, so you might say, can you move a chip for each sound you hear in the word she, sh, e? What about the word leg? G, leg. So here, instead of blending the separated phonemes to make a word, they're listening to the word in whole, and they are pulling apart how many sounds they actually hear. All right, moving up to age 6.5, here students are expected to segment again more phonemes, but with longer words, with words 3 to 4 phonemes. So again, we're gonna do the same thing. They might use chips, they can use their fingers, they can squish some Play-Doh, but you're going to say a word aloud and they have to determine what the different phonemes are. So I might say the word gate, gate. Can you move a chip for each sound you hear in that word? G, a, t, gate. What about the word cloud? K, l, ow, d. And in that one, there are 4 sounds, of course. So it's just building upon those skills, making it a little more difficult. This is also where students are beginning phoneme substitution. Now, this is a trickier skill, but this is where they should be able to, in simple words without any blends yet. So remember, 6.5, no blends yet. They should be able to listen to a word and change one of the phonemes. For example, you would tell them, say the word cage, cage. Now change j to n, cane. Say the word cane, cane. Change a to o, k, own, cone. So again, this is where they begin that simple sound substitution. Students at this age should also be able to isolate both medial and final sounds they hear in a word. So previously they were only isolating that beginning sound, but now they should be able to hear the medial sound as well as the final sound. So you might give them a word like milk. What's the last sound you hear in milk? K. You might give students a word like soap. Can you tell me the vowel sound you hear in soap? O. That's the vowel sound they hear. Moving on to age 7, we get even trickier with our phonemic awareness. Here students really start to work on sound deletion. And at age 7, they should be able to do this with the initial and the final sound. So you might give them a word like feet. Say feet, feet. Now say it without the f, eat. What about the word team, team? Now say it without the t. So they should be able to hear different words and delete both the initial sound and the final sound in 2 separate activities, not at the same time. This is also when they should be able to do some more advanced phoneme substitution with words that have 5 to 6 phonemes. For example, you might say, I'm going to say 2 different words and I want you to tell me what sound was changed. Shrink, shrank. So there they have to actually isolate the sh, I, the ink, right? That I sound to A. A went in there, ank. I changed to A. Shrink, shrank. All right, moving to age 8, the only phonological awareness activity that was mentioned here is initial sound deletion with blends. We know that teaching students blends, getting them to really hear those two sounds is difficult for so many different reasons, one being co-articulation of saying those two sounds together. So here you would give students a word that has an initial blend, like say the word train, train. Now repeat that word without t, rain. Say the word blink, blink. Repeat that word without the sound b, link. So here again, they're practicing sound deletion, but we are keeping it to that initial sound and we are including blends there. So they really have to separate those two sounds and actually delete one of them to say a new word. And moving up to age 9, we have our trickiest phonological awareness activities that your more advanced students are going to work on. Here we have sound deletion again, but here we're not going to just remove the initial sound. We can remove medial sounds and we can also work on blends at the end of a word. For example, you might say the word snail, snail. Now say it again without the n, sail. So they're again isolating that blend again, sn, but here they're not deleting the first one, they're deleting that middle sound, the n. And we can also do this with final sounds. Say the word fork, fork. Say it again without the k, for. Now at age 9, we also have phoneme reversal, and this is also not one I have taught before, so I think there's 3 on this list that I've not explicitly taught to my students. This one sounds very tricky, but students should basically be able to hear a word aloud and then reverse or switch the first and last phonemes. For example, I would give my students the word safe, have them repeat it, safe. And then I would ask them to say the first sound last and the last sound first, which would change the word to face. So they're kind of reversing and swapping those two sounds. Very tricky skill. And this is also where students should master phoneme chains or sound ladders, word ladders, whatever you call them. But again, not word ladder because we're not introducing letters yet. This is all with sounds. And here, for example, students would have some cubes, again, some manipulative, and they would go ahead and make the word you say aloud. Let's use the word clap, for example. Students would go ahead, segment those phonemes, and they would put a cube for each sound they hear. So k, l, a, p. And then I would say the word slap. So here I'm not telling them change k to l. I'm just telling them the next word, right? I'm just saying slap. They have to look at their cubes, determine what was changed. Here we changed k, remove that cube, put a new one for s. Next I would say the word slop. So they would have slap. They'd change that cube and put in a cube for ah. Lastly, I could say slot, and they would have to again look at their cubes, slop. Change the p to t by just taking out that cube and putting a new one to show that that is the phoneme that was changed. So again, just to clarify here, your students at earlier ages are doing phoneme substitution, and you can do things like a chain there, but you are telling students what sound they're changing, right? You're telling them change the k in clap to s. What word do you have? Here you're simply giving them the words, and students are using something like a manipulative to recognize and change what phonemes are being substituted. So you're just saying clap, slap, slop, slot. And as you go, they are manipulating the sounds. All right, so there you have a sequence of phonological awareness activities going from age 4 all the way to age 9. Now, I went ahead and I actually made a printable version of this. I thought it would be easy to actually print out. You can see the age, the skill, and some examples for each one. That way you can reference it in your own classroom if you are deciding what skills you need to teach your students, either in whole group or in small group. The information I shared in this video is available in many different places online, but again, I wanted to make it in a printable version so you could just print this, laminate this, keep it wherever you need to teach your students. So it is actually available in the SJT Literacy Club. If you go over to the club and you go to the phonological awareness and phonemic awareness activities part, you will go in that portion and you will see scope and sequence, and you can download it straight from there. If you're not in the SJT Literacy Club, I will actually link it down in the description in case you want to check it out and join us over there. But if not, I will also link an article from Reading Rockets that has all the same information. I hope this video is useful to you and you're able to really get some ideas about what phonological awareness skills and activities your student should be doing at different parts in their progression, right? So we have the age ranges that they should be able to master these by, but then also if your students are struggling or if they are a little bit behind, you can find out where they are on this scope and sequence so you can help them. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I actually have another video I think you will also enjoy. It is called 5 Tips for Teaching Phonemic Awareness Activities. It is over here, and these 5 tips you can use with any of these skills. So that video is just like things to keep in mind and best practices for teaching any one of these skills with your students. So I'll link that video down in the description in case you want to check it out. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.